Meg Griffin is the eldest daughter of the Griffin family, residing in the fictional town of Quahog. She's often portrayed as the misunderstood and socially awkward teenager, which tends to make her love life quite interesting to say the least. Meg's romantic journey can be described as a roller coaster ride with its fair share of ups and downs. From fleeting crushes to unexpected relationships, she's had quite the eventful ride. So without further ado, let's get started. Mayor West. In the episode Deep Throats, what begins for Meg as a great fantastic internship working as the assistant to Mayor Adam West gradually dissolves into a confusing love attraction fandango between the two of them. Meg gets busted by Brian after he's persistent with a parking violation that he looks to have overturned. Brian urges Meg to cease the allegedly lighthearted affair that she's having with the most powerful authority figure in Quahog, Luke. Meg begins a relationship with a convicted murderer at the local prison, who goes by the name of Luke in the episode Dial Meg for Murder. During the time that he was behind bars, the two started exchanging letters and eventually developed a romantic relationship. When Brian visits her, he finds her seeing another man. Because they had told Lois and Peter everything that had happened, it forbade Meg from ever seeing Luke again. Meg Griffin takes Luke in when he escapes from prison and seeks sanctuary at the Griffin family home. Neighbor Joe Swanson finally discovers where Meg kept Luke and brings her to punishment for her actions. Meg is as ruthless as they come upon her release from prison, and she prioritizes getting her way over all other concerns. Quagmire. On the eve of Meg's 18th birthday, the filthy sexual deviant who lives next door to the Griffins, Glenn Quagmire finally puts all of his previous heart-to-heart conversations with Meg to the side in order to seek her as a sexual partner. Meg escapes into the arms of the experienced man about town to his hidden love cabin in the middle of the New England woods, battling against the will of her parents, until Peter and Lois burst in to save the day. Meg is fully legal and fighting against the will of her parents. Brian. After Meg sobs uncontrollably in front of Brian during the episode of Barely Legal, in which she's abandoned from the prom, Brian is convinced to accompany Meg to the formal dance in order to appease her. After getting incredibly wasted in advance of the event, Brian defends Meg to Connie on her behalf, which ultimately results in Meg falling head over heels in love with Brian. Brian makes out with Meg while he's in a drunken stupor and immediately comes to regret their act the next day. Meg, on the other hand, responds to this in the manner of an obsessive stalker and begins to organize the kidnapping of Brian in order to coerce him into loving her. Neil Goldman. Neil is the nerdiest geek at James Woods High School, and as a result, he has a predilection for following Meg. Neil is the son of the resident pharmacist that works across the entirety of Quahog. On the other hand, Meg does not wish to have any interaction with Neil. In the kiss scene around the world, the two are able to have a passionate embrace despite the fact that they're under the impression that their lives have come to an end as a result of their internship at the local news station. When she discovers that he has a new love interest in 8 simple rules for buying my teenage daughter, Meg's jealousy explodes and she becomes outraged. This is the relationship that Megs find to be the most challenging. Michael. During one of Peter's numerous instances of acting like an idiot, he gives Meg the order to go buy him a sandwich in the middle of a flood. Meg obeys Peter's command. Meg becomes unconscious when she consumes an excessive amount of water while retrieving the sandwich while their kitchen continues to flood. She comes to while lying next to a handsome young doctor, and the two of them eventually fall in love. Michael decides to call off his relationship with Meg until Meg reveals that she's pregnant as a result of Peter's overbearing conduct. He comes to the conclusion that he will support her no matter what and will even marry her till she admits that the engagement is only a ruse to get the two of them back together. As a direct consequence of this, he walks away from her at the altar. Kevin Swanson. Meg is sometimes depicted as drooling over her next-door neighbor, Joe Swanson's teenage son, Kevin, which makes the situation with Kevin a little bit complicated. Meg was always trying to woo Kevin before he departed for the military, and she did everything she could to impress him. This is generally considered to be Meg's first admission in the series that she has been courting another person. Jeff Campbell. When the Campbells moved in next door, the Griffins were taken aback by their sudden influx of new neighbors. Dave Campbell was found shivering and naked in the middle of the ocean by Peter, who ended up saving his life. As soon as it is discovered, all 3 of their neighbors are nudists, which is weird for the Griffin family as a whole, with the exception of Meg, who develops a liking for their son, Jeff, who's in his teenage years. The Griffins have a difficult time accepting the idea that their daughter has a romantic interest in a nudist, but in the end they do. Sarah. Due to the fact that Meg comes from a troubled family, she has a hard time forming relationships with other people. However, after Meg's newest classmate, Sarah, invites her to hang out, the two rapidly become inseparable friends despite Meg's history of social awkwardness. It is not long before it becomes clear that Sarah has aspirations that go beyond friendship. She has recently come to terms with the fact that she's a lesbian and is hoping to find love in Meg Griffin. Meg makes an effort to be accommodating, but despite her best efforts, she's a heterosexual girl at heart. Anthony. For the first time in her life, Meg has a serious romantic relationship towards the end of the episode, Go Stewie Go. His name is Anthony, and in addition to being normal and attractive, he's roughly the same age as she is. The Griffin household is taken aback by this information, and matters become somewhat more complicated when Lois attempts to seduce Anthony as a means of narcissistically making herself feel young again following the verbal assault of Peter. As soon as Meg sees Anthony and another woman engaging in sexual activity, their relationship is doomed. Jerome. When Peter finds out that Jerome had an affair with Lois before she began dating him, he makes the decision that he will do whatever it takes to keep Jerome away from their household. This includes engaging in behavior that is unintentionally racist. When it is discovered that Jerome did not sleep with Lois, Peter is relieved. Nevertheless, it is shown that Jerome did sleep with Meg, and Peter seems unconcerned with this fact. Jimmy Fallon. In the episode Don't Make Me Over, Meg makes a victorious transformation from an outcast loser to a genuine pop diva. This episode is largely responsible for putting the Griffin family on the map. Meg and the Griffins, a young power pop musical combo, were making their way across the country when they eventually landed a performance slot on Saturday Night Live during the Jimmy Fallon years. The two get together in one of the standard opening sequences for Saturday Night Live after Fallon has introduced himself. After finding out that Fallon has taken his daughter's virginity on television, Peter appears to beat Fallon for the deed, but it is later revealed that he's actually punching Fallon for laughing during the skits. And that wraps up our exploration of Meg Griffin's love life. From her awkward encounters to moments of joy and self-discovery, Meg's romantic journey has been quite a roller coaster. We've covered 12 characters who played a part in Meg's story, each bringing their own dynamics and quirks. Which relationship did you find the most intriguing or relatable? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for joining on this entertaining journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more character analyses. Until next time, stay awesome.